So first up in the news, the biggest, juiciest topic was the interview with Brian Birmingham. I always hate these ones that are. I just wish that he would do like I love Josh's interview with Brian because it was live, you know. But
yeah,
you do get a lot more concise answers this way, so you at least have that. So, so the first thing that they talked about was it's like they're really like digging their heels in on the random dungeon finder or dungeon finder. Like they're really digging their heels in, and they're saying they want to make something that's kind of automated like that gets you in groups and has a better, you know, UI, but it doesn't look like there's any chance of at least on launch the LFG tool coming in. What do you guys think about this? I don't even know. What's even your thoughts on this, Duranasaur? I don't even know.
I've been pretty neutral about it. I see the benefits of them having it, especially for anyone who plays on a lower pop server. I think one of the issues that, you know, players are having these days in regards to like server population and stuff is like if you're on a low pop server and you're with a guild and you're happy there, you run into problems of like, well, we're happy here as a group, but anytime we want to do stuff outside of the guild, like we want to pug, we want to do anything, it's hard because there aren't very many players here. And the LFD tool, as I understand it, would be cross server, and that would alleviate a lot of those things. But on the other hand, like it's been years and years of hearing from the larger WoW community that that's what ruined the game, right? Like that's been like kind of shoved down our throats, right? They're like, oh, it's as soon as they introduced this LFG, like that's when WoW started taking a dive. Well, see, and it's been really interesting hearing both sides of the conversation now about it.
Yeah, well, let me interject with that because I honestly think a lot of people are looking for Dungeon Finder and looking for Raid Finder confused, because I always felt that looking for Raid Finder was what really like was the start of the downfall, because that's raids, and I feel like you should have to do those. I only thought that looking for Dungeon Finder, I thought it was a great tool. I loved it. I just wished it was server only. That's like really the only thing that I wished they would change. Like that was my whole thing. I just wanted people to be accountable, and I wanted to possibly be able to recruit somebody you met in a dungeon. And I know everybody says that doesn't happen now, but it does sometimes. Like, and either way, like, I mean, for instance, Varg had a problem yesterday with two guild members that were griefing the towers in Hellfire, right? And they were making it so that the Horde flippers couldn't flip it over. And so it's like we're on basically a PvE server. Like it's not like you're doing PvP. And they were extremely mean about it to everybody who asked them to stop. And everybody in the guild just was getting blown up, right? And that's the type of thing you would get if somebody ninja'd loot in a LFD, you know? So like, I don't know. I think that's just my thoughts on it. I think like they confuse, because I think looking for Raid Finder is horrible. I do think that's horrible. But looking for Group Finder, I really just wanted it same server. But do you have any thoughts on this? Like while you were gone, WillE, we talked about how Brian
sorry about that.
Dug in his heels and said that they're not going to do LFD.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at this point, it's pretty clear that I wish they'd at least keep it on the table rather than saying we're straight, I'm not going to do it,
right? And
try and sort of find something that could possibly work. At this point, I want to see what they do in the beta, and then I'll probably complain about it a bit more. To be honest, like I just don't want to look at the wall of spam. It's not interesting. It's not fun. It's tedious. I'd rather
yeah, I mean, even with
some form of, you know, automatic grouping there. I don't care if it's same server or whatever. I'm happy to fly there. I just don't want to stare at a wall of spam.
Yeah, well, even with the looking for group bulletin board add-on, what I find with Benediction is there's still a ton of spam because like there's so many groups going on, you know, like, and so I'm just like,
Benediction, yeah, it must be crazy there.
It's nuts.
It is.
That's one of the reasons why I'm like more open to the idea. Like I said, I'm like pretty neutral on it, but then when you're on one of these mega servers and your bulletin board add-on is just like it's constantly filling up and cycling through everyone that's like posting stuff, it's like, what is the real difference here between me just like sitting around looking at this add-on and then whispering like people every time they post like need a DPS, and sometimes getting a response and an invite, sometimes getting completely ignored? Like, I don't think that's that much better of a user experience than like a group organization and setup feature.
And it's dungeons. I'm going to search out to try and raid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to find a home to try and raid. Like, that feels like something I should do some work for. But like at the end of the day, for a dungeon, if I'm just doing it for a daily, I'm going to be like, do I really want to mess with getting in a group? If my guildies don't want to do it, I just won't do it. But if LFG was there, like I would totally, I would totally do it. Like, you know, it just like, it takes the, you know, the pain out of trying to get into one. It's just, I feel like dungeons are a lesser commodity, and I don't mind the automation there, is basically where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting as well, because you look at TBC now with Magister's Terrace, and me playing a Ret, Shard of Contempt is a rather good trinket, and every single Magister's Terrace is running with that thing hard res, looking for caster DPS only. So if there's a group, there'll be people, you know, every item that you would want from a dungeon will be reserved.
Well, and that's one of the worst things. Is
and if it's random, then people might be more incentivized to just press, oh, you know, I've got some time, press the button. It'll find people. You know, if there's somebody else I roll against, that is what it is. But if people have a choice and are putting a group together, it just doesn't make sense to actively choose to invite competition.
Yeah, definitely. And true. Well, and on top of that, you've got the dastardly behavior that has started in the last couple months of all unneeded blues and greens are reserved, and like that is just dastardly, you know, like
yeah.
And so, like,
people are doing that in Classic. Yeah, I mean, tanks are a hot commodity. With DKs existing, there should be more.
And with dual spec, there should be more.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Magister's Terrace as well, because my alt's an enhancement shaman, and it's like I still don't have shard.
You got to get shard. I
have to get it, and I just sit there staring at the bulletin board, and it's like hard reserve. Oh, there's one that's not hard reserve. You whisper them, and they're like, do you need shard? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, no.
Never mind.
I mean, I had to, I was either running with my guild and then we'd just find caster DPS, or I go spec prot and then find caster DPS. Yeah. So that's all I did. But you just have to keep running it till you get it, really. It's yeah. I mean, that item, you can't really replace it. There's a lot of good previous items from dungeons in Wrath, though, from heroics, lots and lots, very good stuff, and badges.
True.
Like, you can get badges from anywhere, can't you?
Yeah, but there's you know, they have said they're still going to have the daily quest that gives you extra. Like, it's just going to be, you know, it's just not going to be in LFD. Like, originally it was there before, and then LFD, they just moved it to random dungeon finder or whatever. But
yeah, exactly.
But hopefully the tool is good enough for people to use it. Like, that's what we need. So, I mean, honestly, just give us the tool, the exact thing, and just don't warp us to the dungeon. Fine. Like, but it still makes the group. Like, that would be good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll fly there if I have to. You know, if it's cross server or same server, okay. With how big servers are now, like, that's affecting less and less people because everybody's migrating to like a handful of mega servers now, which is only going to continue. But yeah, just please, not the spam. I don't want to look at spam.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully they come up with something that works. So then,
I'm expecting something like the retail version. If you're familiar with that, you can pick your role.
But I heard it's okay.
It's good. It is good.
I heard it's what everybody uses.
Ironically, there's zero social interaction in it at all. Absolutely zero.
Isn't that what? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what everybody uses to get mythic dungeons going? Because you can't automate, the automated looking for group doesn't work for mythic. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it doesn't work for mythic at all. It'll work for normal and heroic. Mythic, you have to assemble your own group. So it's like a tool. You pick your role, you pick the dungeon, you can set item level ranges. You say you're doing this dungeon, then you put a little description box. You might say +7 or something, and then you post it. I guess you post out the message, and about 1 billion DPS apply, and you pick the one with the highest item level. That's basically how it works.
Oh, sad.
Everybody gets a chance.
Yeah, if they're playing the right class.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have an automated one where it just throws you in a group and you just head there. But I don't know. Whatever. It's they're not going to do it.
It just seems weird to me how intent they are on sticking to this. With all of the complaints, and I know there's been arguments on both sides, right? There's no clear winner. Everybody's got a vocal minority of their opinion here, but I just feel like it's a strange thing to be it will absolutely not happen, right?
You almost wonder if they just don't have it built and they don't have time to build it.
Yeah, but they're going to build something completely new,
It was funny.
I don't know,
because during Josh Corbett's interview with Brian, when Josh asked him about LFD, Brian was he said that the team had been the classic WoW team, even as early as back in before Vanilla came out. They had started talking about hey, if we ever get to Wrath, what about looking for dungeon? And unanimously they were well, no, we're not going to put that in because players don't like it. So it's been 3 years of them being so confident and so sure that players don't want it and that they're not going to put it in the game. And then I think as soon as they announced that and they got all this pushback, they were very surprised.
Oh yeah, I honestly think they'll be really taken aback by the response. It's been said years upon years now that LFD has been only a bad thing to Blizzard. And there was an LFD add-on at the start of Classic, and Blizzard specifically made a blue post saying this doesn't fit Classic, and it's the most voted blue post I've ever seen. It's got 1,600 upvotes for a Blizzard poster, and now they are. And during the announcement, they show Wrath the Lich King, the cinematic, and one's oh, that's amazing. The first thing they choose to say afterwards is, "Hey guys, great news! We're removing the LFD," and people are hold on.
Oh my gosh, people raged.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And it's
when we get to Cata, not if, it's going to happen. Trust me. Will people be oh, we need LFR now?
That's what I'm saying is when it first came out, nobody said this is a horrible thing, right? And it's people looking back on it after so many years of the game evolving, saying it's a bad thing. But then now at the same spot that we're in, that we're moving on to Wrath, it's
yeah.
I would say the majority of people that I hear want LFD. There's a small portion of people that I think are still very against LFD, but even people that I think would have said no LFD at the beginning of Classic launch, I think a lot of them now are well, yeah, obviously we want LFD.
I think a lot of that is because so many the bulletin board add-on and so many other things are player driven pushes in that direction. And right. I think that it's so funny because if you go back in time to when it first came out and then over the years afterwards, people complaining about it, it's if they had never introduced it, I feel no matter when they put it in the game, players were going to say yes, this is a good idea. And it's only in the long term after the fact of players having it that they start to complain about it, because then here we are back in the same place they were however many years ago, and players are saying yeah, give us the thing, it sounds great. And I think it's because players do actually like it.
I mean, I like it. I just wanted some tweaks. Like,
I think everybody's trying to find where WoW went wrong, right? And I don't think it was one specific thing. I don't think, and I'm not saying, I know there's still a lot of people that enjoy retail, and that's fine, but I think it's just people evolving too, right? And the player base wants X, Y, or Z, or doesn't have as much time to do this and that. And it's a very different, Classic is not the same as when we played 12 years ago, right? Like, it's just not the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.